Welcome back to another episode of the Downsizing Roadmap podcast with your hosts, Jody Roscoe and Heather Fisher. We're talking about all things downsizing, from our own experiences with clients to guest experts. Let's make downsizing easier, one conversation at a time. Hello, everybody. We are back today for another episode of Downsizing Roadmap. We are excited to talk to you today. I'm Jody Roscoe.
I'm Heather Fisher.
And today we are going to talk about paper.
I think that this topic is good for all of us.
Yes, I don't think it really has to do with downsizing at all. I think paper can just take over your house so easily. And so I think that it's a great topic for everyone.
Absolutely. I think there are stacks of paper that all of us need to get rid of.
Right.
So let's dive in and see what those might be.
Yeah, so the ones that we're going to kind of talk about today, and we're going to talk about whether we keep it, toss it, how long do we keep it, all of the things about organizing paper clutter in our house. But some of the stuff that we're going to talk about is junk mail.
I wish we had none of that.
Yeah, but a lot of that comes. Magazines. Oh my gosh, I remember just, signing up and getting magazines and ripping out the pages of the things that I wanted to keep, reminders and recipes and gardening and all the things with Pinterest now. So
Yes, I loved magazines showing
Right?
up in the mailbox and
I know.
nothing else happened that day except browsing through it.
Which I kind of miss that kind of cozy where you just sit down and you look at it. But honestly, it just is a little bit of a thing of the past for us now, I think. So newspapers, these just can really add up so quickly, especially if you get the newspaper delivered to you every day.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up reading it.
Yeah.
So they stack up waiting for you to circle back.
Yep. Just regular mail, bills, letters, statements. What are we going to do with all of that stuff? Important documents. Those are the things we are going to have to keep, and we'll talk about what those all look like. Kids' school work and artwork and all of that stuff.
Yeah, it's a hard one to get rid of, but there's some room to make some choices there and streamline it.
Yeah. Yep, they bring them home and they want to keep it all, and they're so excited.
Yes.
And you want to keep it sometimes when you really shouldn't. So
Yes.
we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Receipts, warranties, those kind of things, and sticky notes and notes. Oh my gosh.
Guilty as charged.
Yes, we are the worst. We have sticky notes all over, and we've tried all different kind of ways to unsticky note ourselves. So we're working on that ourselves as well.
Yeah, I think that's a hard one to move to other formats because it's just so convenient to have it right there in front of you.
Yep.
On the bathroom mirror or the corner of my computer is where I keep them.
Well, and I don't think they totally need to go away. I do think they have some value, but it's when they start really accumulating, and you need to be putting that information somewhere else. Yeah. Okay, so what to keep and what to toss. Let's talk about immediate disposal, stuff we can just get rid of right away. Junk mail, number one, you can throw the junk mail away before you even walk in the house. From the driveway to the house, the garbage can outside the house or inside the garage.
I pulled a stat here. The average American household receives 41 pounds of junk mail per year.
Pounds?
Pounds.
Oh my gosh.
So there is that's where we should start.
Yeah.
Because if it's all still in there accumulating, that's a lot.
Yeah. And I think that in that, some of the things that we keep are like coupons. And honestly, if you don't have a plan on how to use coupons, because I think there are people who are amazing at that, and they have a whole plan, and they usually have a little folder, like a little file folder thing, and they use their coupons and they do a fantastic job of it. But if you don't have the plan, then what happens is you cut the coupon, you put it in the junk drawer probably, or somewhere like that, or it lays around on a surface that it shouldn't be laying around on, and then it expires. And especially if it's in the junk drawer, you'll know when you guys are cleaning out your junk drawer, and you'll find all the expired coupons for things, right? And so I love the idea of the coupon and saving money and all of that. I think that's all important. But if you're going to be clipping coupons and keeping that stuff, then you need to actually create a whole plan for yourself on how you're going to use them and be kind of diligent about that. Otherwise, they're just another form of paper that's stacking up.
I think you're right. The people that are in that camp of successfully using them to save money definitely have a system, and they're not going to have, we're not saying get rid of all of those if they're working for you, because for that system to work, you're already getting rid of the expired ones and all of that. I know in my house I was in previously, and we just had a drawer that was like the pizza menu and pizza coupon drawer, and the flyers would come in the mail and they would just get put on top, but
then it would just pile up.
Yes.
And then when you eventually clean your junk drawer every year or so, you throw them all away.
Yes. So,
and also, like, I really wish that, like, CVS, you get the huge receipt with like every coupon, which are great coupons, and I never remember to use them. I'm like in the same with my Kohl's cash, like I don't remember to do any of those things. So I really wish when they gave you like your, when you scanned your little code or whatever for your whatever that is, customer
your app,
your customer number that you have, I wish they would just automatically give you the coupon off and not print it out and then have you try to keep it. But anyway, that's for another day. But
there's the whole list of stores that you are forbidden to shop at if you don't use a coupon. It's just
right.
You must.
Right. So anyway, figure out where to keep them and how you're going to actually use them, or let them go. Old magazines and newspapers. So pretty much everything now can be found online. Like especially in magazines. I do love to look through them sometimes, but you can, if you're going to do that, you can look through them and then just let them go, right? If you want to still read them and cozy up and have a day where you read your magazines, that's fine. But we used to keep them because that's where the information was. But definitely the information and much, much, much more is out there online already.
I think that it's a matter of magazines. For the first step is evaluating what you do with your magazines. We've had clients that we've gone to and they'll have, every National Geographic from
That's so common.
Whatever, year. And it's really thinking about, why are you saving them? Is it as an investor collector's item and you're keeping them in pristine condition? And is that even a thing? And evaluating that. Did you just start and that's just, I just put them there and you never revisit them? Then probably let them go quickly. Is it that, you do enjoy going back and looking at some? Then maybe it's just minimizing. What are my favorites? What are the issues that I, would like to go back and look at, and cutting it down. But keeping all of them is just not really your best option. It takes up too much space. And if it's just a pile of random magazines that have just come in and you just haven't made decisions on them, then those are probably recycle.
Onto the recycle bin.
Yeah.
And same with the newspapers. I mean, those pile up so quickly, and recycling them, again, same thing. You can recycle them, you can use them, if you have a fireplace, you can use them for kindling and all of that stuff, but don't keep too much of that. Don't keep keeping it thinking, I'm going to burn that or I'm going to whatever. So into the recycle bin, I think that most of it can go.
Yeah, I think that we fool ourselves, especially with the newspaper, that, I'll finish reading this later, but by the next morning there's another paper.
Right.
So, if you haven't finished it by the end of that day, then put it in the pile for recycling and get them out of there. I think it's kind of cool. I have newspapers, the issue that came out the day each of my kids were born.
Yeah.
But, if you have a couple milestone ones like that, that's okay. But if it's just your daily paper stacking up, and I know, people think, I'll save it because I need newspaper for various things, wrapping around, protecting things or using the newspaper, but you only need so much.
Right.
So don't keep boxes of it.
Right. And I think back to the National Geographics, which we do find in lots of people's homes, I think they are really they're the same as encyclopedias, right? They were at a time that's where you got your information, or they were really cool photos or, cool information same with like Life magazine and some of those other ones that really people, all the things like that's where you got your information. But now we get our information online, and so we just don't really need it.
I think it's a huge difference that we have such easy digital access to photos and images of, places or things or, animals and things, that we did have a sense, 10, 20, 30 years ago, if we, our photos from the zoo were the only pictures of giraffes we were going to see, or National Geographic places that we can only hope to travel to.
Yeah.
That was our only way to keep those images. But you're right, now with it being so easily accessible online, the need is definitely changing.
And remember, when you're letting things go, there is a thing, like a mental thing that's proven, that we want to keep things just because we already have them, like just because we own them. And so would you go out and buy new National Geographic magazines? Like, are they that important that you would want that, or whatever magazines that you're looking at, books, any of that kind of stuff? Would you want them again, or is it just because they're here in my house and I think I need to keep them because I already have them?
I think that's a really good point, and maybe we should have started there. But do you have ongoing subscriptions to magazines that are bringing, more and more copies into your house? And I guess starting there and evaluating, do I just have this subscription out of habit, or when it comes and arrives at the house, am I getting enjoyment out of it? Am I reading it? Am I using the information? Or is it time to cancel the subscription because they're just getting put in a pile and stacking up and not looked at before the next one arrives?
Yeah, that's a good point. We have a lot of recipes that we have used from years of magazines that we got, in the mail. But now I just Google online very often. And so I think it's interesting to see new ideas and whatever in the magazines. But really, when I want something specific. So then I go and I need a great recipe for this, X thing, chocolate chip cookies, what's the best recipe? I'm not going to go look through all the magazines that I have to see if I can find the best one. It's just not time efficient to do that. So
Right.
Okay, you get the idea. Mostly let them go.
Yes, recycle.
We're still in immediate disposal, friends. Okay, and then you can get digital subscriptions, like you said, to the magazines if that's easier. And so then anything else that's not in the forever category that we're going to talk about, that's older than 7 years old, you probably don't need it. So we can talk about the next category, but think about things that are just old papers, because what we do is we put them in a filing cabinet and diligently file them and get them all in order and never ever look at them again.
Just keep buying more file cabinets.
Yep. We just never look at them again, and we think that we're going to need them, and we don't. I think you had a stat on that one.
This is from the National Association of Professional Organizers, and 80% of the papers we keep are never used again.
Right.
Yeah.
We're back to the 80-20 rule. Isn't that crazy how that just continues to pop up?
Yeah.
So we could get rid of at least 80% very easily.
Yes.
Yeah. So short-term things that we're going to keep. So that's kind of the ones that are super easy, immediate disposal. Short-term papers, receipts for big ticket items, warranties, kind of tax deductible expenses, those kind of things you might want to keep. Big ticket items in case you need to know when you put the roof on the house, when you bought your HVAC system, things like that.
Yeah, I think there's room to have, one spot together, all in one, where you have the receipts. I don't think it's necessary to keep the manual for everything, but I did think about you should write down what model you have and, what brand, the name of the model, and a model number. So if you are looking for a manual online, you can be very specific as to what you have. So maybe one list. But what I found, when I moved and had the stack of where I had kept all the manuals, it's back to the same thing we talked about with the closet and with everything else, one in, one out. So you don't need the manuals for 3 appliances ago if you're replacing your microwave or you're replacing
Well,
your vacuum cleaner.
And a lot of those manuals
Yeah.
are online now.
Yeah.
And if something breaks, like you can go to YouTube and like get the super quick lowdown on how to try to fix it yourself before you call the appliance guy or whatever. So
Yeah.
again, the manuals are usually online. Like you said, you need to know what style or whatever that is. But other than that, you don't really need to keep those. And the big ticket items, you really just, so when you're going to sell your house, if we're going to go in that direction real quick, you do want to know what years you put the big ticket items into the property. So you want to know when you got your roof done, when you got your HVAC done. If you got all
Water
new carpet,
heater,
you put
yeah.
a fence in, kind of upgrades that when you upgraded the master bathroom or the kitchen or whatever, that really helps the agent, your real estate agent, kind of help you determine a price on your house. And those upgrades will help you sell the house most of the time. So you want to know what all that is. And so you want to kind of keep all of that together.
Yeah, one organized place with all of those things is not going to take up that much space.
Yeah.
It's the key to knowing where it all is, that it's all together and organized.
Yeah, and definitely when I went through my manuals, there was definitely stuff for things that I didn't own anymore. So.
Right, because we replace it and we just tuck
The manual
the new manual
Right.
in and don't go, where's the one for the old version of whatever?
So pay stubs, you really only need to keep your pay stubs until you get your W-2 because that rolls up all your pay stubs. So in a year, you can have a folder for the pay stubs, but then once you get your W-2 and do that, the pay stubs can go away. So in short term, insurance policies until they're renewed. So you don't need to keep all of the old ones every year that you renew your insurance policy. So then that old one can go. It might be worthwhile to invest in a shredder. Just for that kind of thing, you can just get a home shredder that's not that expensive. If you haven't done your paperwork in a really long time, you might need to drop it off somewhere. Office Depot has shredding and UPS has shredding. Or
A lot of cities have a monthly shred date or a quarterly shred date. So whatever city you're in, call the city offices or look online at their calendar, and those are typically free. Some of the other places you mentioned might be a minimal fee to do that, but well worth it, either route that you go.
Yeah, when we moved, we had not taken care of our paperwork, so we just had that same years and years of the boxes, boxes that the cardboard boxes you put together and you put your taxes in it and all of that stuff. And we had probably 20 boxes of paperwork. So we actually called a service to just come and pick it up. So depending on the level of what you have, you can keep that box. And like Heather said, you can just take it to your shred day once a year, or you can just buy a little shredder. If you're going to keep up on things, that would be useful to just keep it up, do your shredding as you go along.
Yeah, and we're not a huge advocate about buying more things to keep yourself organized, but I think in this category there are 3 things that once you've gone through and you've gotten yourself to an organized place, the 3 things that may be great investments would be a small personal shredder, so you can shred things as they come in and not let them stack up and get tucked into piles again. Because if you don't shred it right away, then you start feeling like I need to go through that pile again.
Yeah.
That I personally do.
Right. What if something is important in there that I need to
what
either
if somebody
keep,
put
or
something
somebody
in the
gets
wrong
my
pile?
info from it?
Yeah. So shred it quickly if it's a shred item. And then 2 other things that can be worthwhile to keep up on paper is a scanner, whether it's, a standing scanner as part of your printer with your home computer, or if it's an app on your phone. I know we use a couple lots for our work, and they're pretty easy to use and simple for anyone to do.
I use Genius Scan is the one that I've used. There's plenty, but it's so easy. You literally take your phone and you hold it over the paper, and it will take a picture of it, and you email it to yourself, and then you can save it wherever you need to.
Yeah, and then the third thing, which we'll probably get to, but for the essential documents, a fireproof safe or box or something of that sort, that once you have it down to the small stack of things you need to protect and keep, put them in that safe and something fireproof in case anything happens.
So as you're starting to go through your paperwork, those are the things that you might want to have with you. You might want to have the little shredder unless you think you're going to have a big volume of paperwork, and then you're going to have to deal with that. And you might want to have that box so that you know that everything important is going to go in there, and then you can organize it so as you're going along. So again, short-term stuff would be the pay stubs, insurance policies until they're renewed, military travel reimbursement documents if you're, again, it's all the short-term stuff until you get that happen, until something happens with it. Any ongoing contracts that you have that until they're expired. And then 1 to 7 years is bank credit card statements. Those really only need to be kept until you have reconciled those. And a lot of that stuff can also be online if you're good with it being online. Some people are paper people. But if you have your bank statement from last month and you've reconciled it and the next one comes in, the last one goes in the shredder. So you just need the current stuff. Unless you think you need that for your taxes. But if you're reconciling it to some kind of a ledger or QuickBooks or whatever you're using, you don't really need to. You can always get it back online from the bank.
Yeah, or go into the bank and they can print them for you if you're not sure how to access it online.
Yeah.
Those are always still available in some way.
Yep. Medical bills and records. This can really add up if somebody is sick. Medical bills can really, really add up in paperwork. So you only need those until they're paid. And then if there's something specific, you may need to keep that for a little bit of time. But utility bills, again, same thing, only if you're using them for tax purposes, and really only the most recent one. You don't need to keep years of all of this stuff. Business licenses, you need to keep that, and any outstanding loans that you have. Again, current, like if you've paid your house payment, then the next month you just need to keep the current ones. 7+ years, so tax returns and any supporting documents for tax returns. I have a lot of supporting documents because our business, ends up having a lot of supporting documents. So if you're self-employed, you're going to have lots of documents that go with that. If you're not, your taxes might be kind of simple and you just need to keep that, little tax thing. And as we do our taxes for the next year, I throw away the 8th year, so as we kind of go through that, I have a spot where I keep those, and I want to just make sure that we let that go, because when we were, as I said, we had 20 boxes from the old house that we never threw away. So I'm determined to make sure that I keep through that.
Keep up on it. I have, one of the little file folders for each year, and I probably have more than 7, but I'll work on that today and get rid of a few of the back years. Yeah.
Yeah. Loan payments or mortgage payoff records. So this could be student loans, this could be home loans, whatever kind of loans. But you basically, again, only need the most current one, or unless you're using it with your taxes and it needs to go with the taxes. So once you've paid it off, you can keep that final payoff notice so you know that you've done that. But really, that's pretty much what you need to keep. So investment statements, legal records, open legal cases. Obviously, you need to keep all the information for that. Closed legal cases, at least 7 years. And you could keep it longer if you think you need it for personal reference. But those are kind of the 7-year ones.
Yeah. And I think, when you were talking about the payoff records and stuff, it doesn't mean you need every piece of documentation for a mortgage that's already paid off and closed.
Yeah.
There's still condensing to be done and just keeping those 1 or 2 papers that are the needed, necessary ones.
Mark's dad had every thing, every paper that they ever sent him for his 401k. Like every single, and you just don't need it. You just need like whatever the current one is.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and when you open the mail, it feels like it takes 6 pages to tell you 3 lines of information
right.
on the statements we get. So
yes. Yeah.
I'm sure it's all important, but it's a lot of paper that can add up quickly.
It is. Okay, so stuff that needs to go in that box, in that fireproof box, and stuff that we need to keep forever would be birth and death certificates. We need to keep those, and your social security card and your passport. So all of those that are your personal, and your marriage and divorce decree, and any kind of prenuptial or postnuptial agreements, and domestic relation orders, anything to do with your kids, annulment decrees, alimony settlement agreements, all of that stuff that goes with your relationships, and birth and death and all of that. So you need to keep all of those things. Any comments on any of those?
I think it's important, those a safe or a fireproof box. It could be any size, but typically they're that, suitcase maybe size box. And I would just say if you're getting to the point where you've brought your paperwork down to just these important items and you're doing that, organize that too, so that someone who needs to help you with something, put things in a manila envelope or a file folder inside that box and label, this is the insurance policy covering this.
Yeah.
And maybe the company's contact information on the outside of that, folder you're putting it in. Because at some point it may be someone other than yourself that needs to find these documents quickly. And I think you can drill down, and if you've gotten that far that you've gotten rid of the clutter and you're down to that, take that final step and, organize what's in there and why. I think that's really helpful, and it's a gift to whoever's going to help you, in the time of a crisis.
Yeah, my mom was like the ultimate paper keeper. And so she thought everything was important and she didn't want to let any of it go. So what that meant, though, was when she passed away and I need to find the title to her car, it took me 2 weeks to do that, going through boxes and boxes and boxes of paperwork. And it ended up being in a pile of paperwork with junk mail and her social security card and the title to the car and a bunch of other papers that didn't mean anything, and medical papers, and just conglomeration of things. But it was really hard to find it through all of the other paperwork that was there. So
honestly, because your mom didn't make that decision on what was important or what wasn't, and she may have known immediately, but because of that, because it was all mixed together and not in, an important paper spot, you then had to go through every paper and make a decision on whether it was important and, if it was from any kind of a financial institution or anything, because it wasn't already distinguished whether it was an old account that she didn't have
Right.
anymore or an old policy that wasn't active anymore. You had to remake a decision on what was a lot of junk mail, but you had to do it piece by piece.
But you're absolutely right, because I did find bank statements from banks that had been closed, like that I didn't even need to be worrying about. And then I found, stuff that was current, and it was just kind of all of it. And it is a gift. I'm telling you, it is a gift to put that stuff together. It's peace of mind for you, and it's peace of mind for whoever it is that might have to come after you or come while you're, you might be
needing some help.
Yeah, just need some help. So, next up on that forever list would be wills, trusts, power of attorney. Health, financial power of attorney. Make sure that you have all of that paperwork together. Deeds and property records. When you go to sell a property, the title company is going to pull the deed and all of that information. But if you have that, it all should be in there as well in that box. Life insurance policies, your family won't know what that is if you don't have it in there. So make sure that you have the life insurance policies in there. Military discharge papers, it's important to always keep that, because there are some military benefits that you can get later, but you need to have all of that paperwork.
Yeah. And for spouses as well, keep that even if someone has passed. Keep their military paperwork.
Yeah, VA benefits, paperwork, service records, immigration papers. If you've immigrated, you need to keep those. Medicare cards, voting cards, adoption papers. If you've adopted a child, you need to keep those papers. Change of name certificates. If you've got married and then changed your name back, you need to keep that information. anything that you might have a copyright, patent, or trademark on, keep that information, and then your pet records too. So you need to keep whatever you know, if their license is current and up to date, you need to keep that and their pet records. And then on top of it, this is something that you would write yourself, but in that box, it would be great if you added some information about your funeral arrangements or what you're thinking about. And I know that stuff's kind of hard, but if you get to a place, it could, in a surprise, we all hope not, but it's great to have that information for your family.
Yeah, it can give them peace of mind that they're making the right choices for what you would want. And I think there's room too outside of, your will and your large assets that you're leaving to someone. This would be a good place if there are just items as you've gone through, and we know you've been working through the process of decluttering. If there are things that you want a specific person to have for a specific reason, just keeping that all in one spot, solves problems later.
Absolutely. And then the other thing you need to do in that box is if you are you're paying your bills online or you're getting, digital, and you don't have any paper of the account numbers that you have for your 401k or any of those things, or your regular bank accounts or your credit cards, all of that needs to be just written down on a list of all the accounts that you have so that somebody can take a look at that and the passwords of that and the password of your phone. Because if they need to change the password to an account, let's say they were trying to pay your utility bill for you because, you went off on vacation for a month and you need your utility bills paid. If for some reason the password isn't working and they need to change it, it'll send a code to the phone. And so we need to know like that too. If you,
especially your email password, because if we are moving things to paperless, likely those important statements are in your email and someone needs to be able to access that.
And if they pass away and you have the phone, you need to be able to get into the phone so that you can help, facilitate things. So I had that problem with my mom's phone. This is how I know. So ask me how I know. And you just don't want to be hitting roadblocks when you're trying to deal with stuff. It's already hard. So you don't want to be hitting more roadblocks. So, and the other thing is my dad was talking when my mom passed away and he said, hey, I have a bank security box.
Safety deposit
box. Yeah. I have a safety deposit box. And I'm like, oh, I would never know that. I wouldn't even know to look for it, let alone know where the key to it would be or what bank it was at.
Well, if you come across the key, you don't know what bank it's for. If you have something saying what bank it's at, but you don't have the key, they're not going to let you into it. So.
Right. So I was like, really?
Have it all.
So if you have anything like that, and I know that's a little bit old school, but like if you have that, or if there's a safe in your house and you need to, what's the combination to that, all of those kind of things. So make sure that.
Yeah. If you put all of these important papers in a fireproof safe, who is going to be able to get in and make sure there's some options?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so a lot of these things you just want to, there are some forever things and you just want to keep those all together and organized in a way that that somebody else could use them or that you can use them when you need to get to the information. Okay, I'm going to just quickly touch on kids' artwork and photos because I think that's a whole segment on its own and we will do photos at one point. But right at the moment, I'm just going to say, set a limit to choose the best ones, the best photos, the best artwork, and set a limit, whether it's a box, or it's a couple shoe boxes for your photos, it's a one box for your kids' stuff, whatever that limit is, and don't go over it. And you have to kind of keep looking through them and picking different ones.
I think it's back to our same theory on so many other things. If you have boxes and boxes that you never look at, the better alternative would be a few things that you're displaying or looking at regularly in some way so that you're getting the enjoyment out of it.
Yeah, Ryan drew this Robin when he was he was probably 7 or 8, and he painted it, and it has this blue background, and he painted snow, and he's super fat with these skinny little legs, and he's just the cutest thing. And so I framed it. So I put it up at the holiday time, and it's a fun like little winter picture after the Christmas time is, and it just makes me happy. It makes me laugh when I look at it. And so I think if you just have a few things that are special like that and you use them,
display them. Yeah.
Yep. And so pictures, again, you can put them in boxes. You can put them by person or by year, but don't have like 100 boxes of pictures either. Like, start sorting through them and really keeping only the good ones. You might want to get gloves when you handle your photos, just because you don't want to get a whole bunch of fingerprints on them. Those can be scanned also. So again, we'll have a whole thing on photos, but in the beginning, I would just put them all together. And if you really want to get started on those, I would just start by weeding out the ones that aren't good, because there's going to be a lot of them. Because right now, we can take a picture until we get a good one. But back then, we just took 12 or 24 pictures and you got what you got. So.
Right.
All right, so you've gotten all your paperwork under control, and now you need to create an organization system. And so what we think you should do is you should have like an incoming paper station. Remember, all of the junk mail is going in the garbage before you even come in the house, right? And so you have a paper station near the entryway, or if you have a desk, you have a specific place where you put the mail that then you can use. You can use that area when you pay your bills. And a small place to keep documents that you think you're going to keep.
I think if you're sorting it as it comes in, I thought this was interesting, but the touch it once rule. And then, so it just means that immediately when something new comes in, decide if it should be filed, acted on, or shredded. So you're not just delaying the whole decision on it, but you're making that decision. You might not be filing it right at that moment. That could be a once a week, I'm going to take this pile and file it where it needs to be. But make the decision and have those distinct actions, so you don't have to keep remaking that decision and just have one pile on your kitchen table or your kitchen counter. Decide, is it waiting to be filed, and then just file. If is it waiting, needs paid or another action, an RSVP or something, take time and just do all of those actions, or shred it once it's in that shred. I say shred it at that moment, but if not, at least have that shred pile separate so you don't have to go through the stack over and over.
Yeah, and if you put it all together and you sit down once a week and you RSVP and you pay your bills and you do whatever needs to be done, and then that can be empty, and then you put it, again, back to the same next week. You fill that up again, and you just kind of set a time for yourself to handle it. So, so you want to establish that regular routine of sorting and purging. Throw away those taxes from 8 years, the 8th year. When you're doing the other one, just try not to let that all, get
built up again.
Yes.
Well, with 41 pounds of
yes.
stuff coming in that we don't need, it can happen quickly. So definitely needs to be a once a week action, and don't have it accumulating, especially in places where you don't want to look at it every day.
Yeah, I don't want it all over my kitchen counter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so common.
I know, it really is. Or one whole area of your countertop is just taken up with paper
Piles.
that you don't need.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then once a year, you probably need to review those important paperwork. Take a look. Did you change your passwords? Is there stuff that you don't need anymore? Kind of take a look and just go through those things. Is there anything to add? Did you buy a house? Do you need to add that? Did you sell a house? Do you need to let go of those that paperwork, those kind of things? So
I think that once a year review is a great time, back to what we always say, that's a great time to, doesn't seem to go along with paper, but that's a great time to get dreamy. And as you're looking at your goals for the year, are we thinking about making a move, or are we thinking about, taking vacations, or all of those things? In that moment, you're so organized, and your situation with all of your finances and all of that, because it's organized and right there, and it makes it feel a little less overwhelming to dream about something new because you're on top of it and you can just be like, what are our goals this year? What are we going to do? And
Yeah,
you have all the information at your fingertips.
I agree. And I also think that paperwork is the very perfect place to implement that quick 100, right? I mean, you could get rid of 100 pieces of paper really quickly.
Absolutely.
And so I think that could, make that pile go way down and make you really get the ball rolling and make yourself excited about getting that done. But you could do a quick 100 on paper pretty easily. So go get started with your paperwork. Go start recycling those magazines and those newspapers and get that junk mail out of your house and get it started.
Unsubscribe from a few things and go get started.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, good conversation today, Jody, and we will see you guys all next time.
Yep. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for joining us on the Downsizing Roadmap podcast. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might need a little downsizing inspiration. Have questions or ideas for future episodes? Reach out to us on our website, www.downsizingroadmap.com. Until next time, let's keep simplifying and moving forward.